Hello, everyone. Welcome to In the Know with Dr. Aidoo, and welcome to the spring 2022 semester. I hope that you had a really good break. We're excited to have you back on campus or virtual. As I promised, we have more videos for you this semester. We're going to bring you interviews, information, announcements, and as I said, my favorite, the spotlight interviews that we're going to share on faculty, staff, students, and alumni. So I'm really excited because we are kicking it off this semester with our interview with none other than our interim director, Dr. Laurence Chalip. So with a In the Know with Dr. Aidoo, welcome. Dr. Chalip, thank you for coming. I said for coming. It's been a while since I did one of these, but we're gonna roll with all the bloopers here. But thank you so much for coming.
No, thanks for having me. Evan, thank you very much for having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. So my first question is always, how long have you been at Mason?
I'm finishing up my 4th year.
Time flies by, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Yes. Yes.
And I have to tell you this too. I have to, as you know, I've been at several other universities, both in the United States as well as in Australia and New Zealand. And I will tell you, of all the universities I've been to, I think this is the best one.
We agree. We agree. So the other question, or my second question for you, is we always want to know, what is your educational background? Where did you start your journey as an undergrad maybe? And then why this field or this collective field?
Well, so look, I did my undergraduate work at the University of California, Berkeley, and my master's degree at the University of Waikato in New Zealand. And my PhD was at the University of Chicago. And in each of those places, I had a slightly different major. I was an anthropology major at Cal Berkeley. I was a psychology major at the University of Waikato, and I did my PhD in policy analysis at the University of Chicago. And through all of that, I found that those fields were not really that separate, that they integrated beautifully. And more importantly, during that time, I was deeply engaged in various ways with sport, recreation, and tourism, and was thinking about the relationships, things I was studying in sport, recreation, and tourism. So it was a natural way of coming forward to bring all of that academic background and all that life experience into our field. And, right. It's been a perfect match.
I always think that the fields are not as distinct as sometimes we think about them. And so
look, the academic fields are really administrative conveniences of our universities. There's no problem out there that's strictly a sociological problem or strictly an economic problem or strictly a political. It all comes together. And in the real world, that's what we are concerned about. And I'm interested in real world things. And what's nice about sport, recreation, and tourism is we focus on real world things, and real world things that in fact are vital in people's lives. People, build their lives, their choices that they make in their free time, and most of that is sport, recreation, and/or tourism. And so, we're at the heart of things.
So I'm going to get back to you because I really want to go deep into this intersection among these three fields for our school, or these three areas. But before we get to that, I know you have quite an interesting professional background. Let's try, and I'm gonna say it, I know we could do 3 different sessions of this just on that, but could you share with us just some of the highlights of some of the things you've done professionally?
Yeah, and look, I'm an old guy, right? So I've had a chance to do a lot of things over the time, and that'll be true for our students too, is that, as they go on in life, things happen and you do things. I mean, I've done everything from being a migrant farm worker to being the president of a national, a state sporting organization. And in between those things, I mean, I've been an academic, I've been a coach, I've been a trainer. In fact, when I was a doctoral student, I even started my own consulting company. Did work in both consumer evaluation and also did a lot of work with methods and stats. And it's been a varied career, but it all seems to come together and it all makes sense to me as an integrated whole.
So you see, you caught my attention with coach and trainer. Coach for what sport?
Well, the coach, what was best at was swimming.
Okay.
I was a swimmer. I was a moderately successful swimmer, but I was a very successful coach. I had swimmers ranked in the top 4 in the world, even. I was a trainer in field hockey, as well as in swimming, and I did a little bit of work with rugby. But the most extensive work as a trainer was in field hockey.
Okay. Wow. So again, I learned something new with this. So going back to the intersection among the different programs we have in our school, I know from the meetings we've had at the school level or at the program level that you believe very strongly in the intersection among these programs. And now, of course, hearing your background, I get a better sense of the passion, but I want you to expand on that.
Well, look,
what drives that feeling?
Sure. Look, every place I've ever been, they've all been linked up. So when I was a sports professional as a coach and later as an administrator, I found myself working closely with recreation and with tourism. When I was working, at one point, I was deeply embedded in recreation and what I was doing. In fact, my office was in a recreation center. But at the same time, I was also working in competitive swimming, and we were also concerned with tourism development, particularly through events. And one of the things I've learned is that the 3 industries work together very closely in the real world. They're not as siloed as they may be in academic settings. To illustrate that, I say, look, you don't run a major sport event without being in the tourism industry. I mean, we work very closely from sport into tourism. Tourism relies on the product and service, to some degree at least, on the product and service mix provided by public and commercial recreation as one of the attractions and ways of retaining people. And for recreation, sport is one of the key elements of its programming. These things are deeply intersecting, and it makes sense to have a school together as ours does. And I would add that it's actually one of the competitive advantages for our school is that we don't silo our programs and that we are a single school, an integrated school, because in many places students could study, they wouldn't have that opportunity. And that makes us a little better.
I totally agree with that, of course. I think it does make us unique and very attractive. And so I hope that our students know that they have something special going on here. All right, so I'm gonna tilt a little bit because we always want to go behind the curtain.
Uh-oh.
When you're not busy being interim director or faculty member with the teaching and all that, what do you do for fun?
Well, there's a few things, but the 2 big ones would be swimming and playing the guitar.
Whoa, okay, let's more.
Okay, so look, I mean, I played the guitar for many years. And when I was in high school, I was actually part of a trio that did backup for a soul group called the Fabulaires. There was 3 women. And then, in fact, Chris Tabor, who played piano for us in that trio, went on to become a quite a well-known ballet dancer. So it was quite an interesting group of people. I really love flamenco guitar, which I play some and a little classical, but my deepest love, really, I don't play it very much, but I like listening to it, is particularly jazz. So I'm kind of eclectic in my tastes and my background. And in college, I did a lot of jamming of blues. We did a lot of blues. So
Wow.
I still like that. And I have gotten into the water from time to time. I like experimenting with things to see if there's new ways to fix old problems in swimming. And
Right.
it's also a chance to continue to even work with athletes, which I have done, not at Mason, but I've done elsewhere, to try to see what we can do that would be innovative and effective. And that's been fun too.
So now the secret is out. I am not a journalist because I should have done my homework about this guitar playing so you could have, strummed something for us. But the next time, there will be a next interview.
Yeah, there's certain things I don't like to advertise. That's one of them.
Well, I'm just putting you on notice. The next interview we have, there will be some guitar playing.
I'll have to practice. I'll have to
Yeah.
practice.
I'll give you a heads up. Okay. So kind of switching back, putting your hat on as interim director of our school. Our students, we have amazing students. And, one of the things that has been gratifying for me as a faculty member in our school is, getting to listen when they are presenting, particularly from their internship experiences. I mean, it is always amazing the work that our students are out there doing. And then of course they graduate and they get these career, jobs. And, there's just a feeling of pride to say, we're contributing in some small way. But again, as interim director, what advice would you give to our students as, they go through this journey, trying to prepare themselves for their careers?
Wow. I think the number one thing is skills and skill development. I mean, really getting skillful. Nobody hires you because they like the fact that you're a nice person. They hire you because you can do something that adds value to the organization, and that's really skill driven. And one needs to really develop skills. And what I would suggest is do an inventory. What can you do now? What would you like to be able to do? And how can you build those skills? I know that informs a lot of the ways that we actually think about our classes, but it also is part of the way students might want to think about what they're doing now to get themselves ready for the future. Because the stronger the skill set, and the more varied the skill set, the more value that they bring to an organization, and the more progress they'll make in their career.
All right, very good advice. So as we kind of wrap up this conversation, and believe me, I know there were so many other questions I wanted to ask, but like I said, there will be another interview one of these good days.
Yeah, but my guitar will be missing strings on that day. Go ahead.
Sure. But so, I welcomed our students to the spring 2022 semester. What are you excited about for this semester in terms of just, our community?
Oh, wow.
SRTM?
I'm really glad you asked that, because, if I were to summarize it, I call it the 3 Ps.
Okay.
People, programs, and partnerships. We're hiring, starting this semester, some new people in our administrative staff, including an admin officer for the school, and including a communications, marketing, and events director. And we'll be bringing on a new finance manager. I mean, we're also searching right now for a new faculty member and recruiting. And we have some people in mind, and we're going to work hard to attract them if we can. Right. And, all that is just strengthening what we're doing and bringing in fresh blood and fresh ideas and better ways of doing things. I mean, that's exciting with the people. In terms of programs, one of the things we've been looking at in the school, as you know, has been how can we do an even stronger job of integrating? We said that one of our points of competitive advantage is that we have sport, recreation, and tourism together. How do we begin to actually capitalize on that advantage? One of the things that's a struggle for us is that the the publishers, the professional organizations themselves tend to be siloed in the way they think about things. So our resources tend to be siloed. How do we get better than that? And we form partnerships. We have a partnership now with a publisher where we can begin to develop some of these some unique tools for ourselves. We have partnerships with industry. We even have advisory boards and things. We're doing things with the partnerships that are really, the programs that are really good, partly through our partnerships. We also have been putting together partnerships through formal means. We have, we have one example, the events working group, which I think is really beginning to take off, and this semester should be really start to show some activity, COVID permitting. Mm-hmm. Where we've got partnerships bringing together the industry with the academic side in a I think a very strong partnership to actually be very innovative, and at the same time where we can inform our academic work with more of the industry's needs and questions. We can inform the industry's practice with some of the things that we can learn and research and develop. So that's been really good. And I don't know if students know, but we are one of only 2 universities in the United States that has actually been made a node partner in the events rights program, which comes out of Europe. So, you know, again, it's the 3 Ps. It's people, programs, and partnerships. And we bring those together. I predict we'll be even stronger by the end of this semester than we were going in. We're doing pretty well now.
That's really exciting for me too. And I think with the partnerships, especially, more and more we see that we have our alums in some of these partner agencies. So what call out will you give to our alums? What would you like to say to them?
Well, actually, they've been key to the whole sport recreation and tourism family that we have from Mason. I mean, we even have students coming back very often telling us that, gee, I was interviewed by a Mason alum for my first job. I mean, so we're already having quite an influence in the field, and that's exciting. And really, our alums do us proud.
They do. They absolutely do. Well, Dr. Chalip, thank you so much. The semester is about to begin. There are so many balls up in the air. Yes. And so I greatly appreciate that you took time out to come and chat with us and share a little bit about your background. Very interesting stuff that I learned, and I hope that our community will appreciate learning. Again, thank you for your time. So there we have it, everyone. Our spotlight interview with Dr. Laurence Chalip. We're going to put this on Instagram, so you know the drill. Follow us on Instagram. It's @GMU_SRTM. We wish you an excellent semester. We hope you have a great time. Be safe, be healthy, and stay tuned because we have more for you. So until the next time, with In the Know with Dr. Aidoo, take great care of yourself. Bye.
Bye.